We all remember that day when we were a kid and that animal educator came to our zoo, or maybe you went to a birthday party and there was an animal educator. Weirdly enough, it always seemed like they had a big albino Burmese python like Sunrise here, but the fact was that was a day that I always looked forward to. It was my favorite day of the year, to be honest with you, and for so many people, that day really introduced them to reptiles and made them reptile lovers for the rest of their life. Obviously, the Reptarium is all about educating people, and in the past, school events were a giant part of it. Now we don't do as many school events, obviously, because of COVID, but we certainly think that the future, when that opens back up, we're going to be able to do tons of school events. But we do a bunch of zoo to use now at birthday parties, Cub Scout events, and all kinds of different things as well. And listen, you know, that's a huge part of today for us, and even a bigger part of the future. We're all about educating people and getting people to love these animals. But I'm going to be honest with you guys, that future may be in jeopardy. Last year there were a couple state bills, in particular in North Carolina and Oregon, that were proposed that would actually ban the use of certain animals for educational shows, travel shows. Weirdly enough, tortoises was one of those things. Thankfully in North Carolina and Oregon that law didn't pass at all, but basically what would have happened if it would have passed is that you wouldn't be able to take a bunch of different reptiles, including tortoises of all things, to any traveling show, and if you did, you would actually be a criminal. Just bizarre. I just don't even understand. I mean, I guess I can understand like why you shouldn't be able to take a cobra or something like that, but a tortoise? That's pretty weird. You know, I cannot stress enough how important education shows are for conservation. Take, for instance, the cyclura. You know, these are all endangered, and most of them are critically endangered. So being able to have people meet, you know, animals like Tiana here, or Diddy, or Dixie, or Bella, it's a way to help conserve the future, right? I mean, basically, if you weren't able to be introduced to an animal like this, maybe you would never know there was a problem with it. When people come in and see how amazing Tiana is, they want to learn more about her, and it gives us an opportunity to talk to them about the conservation and kind of protecting them for the future. And that means that that person may go home and jump online, or maybe actually dedicate the rest of their life for conservation for cyclura, or for whatever other reptile there actually is, or for animals for that matter, not even just reptiles, but all animals. We always want to conserve what we love, and we only love what we understand. And the way we can understand these animals is to actually be introduced to them by educators, right? Whether it's at a zoo, it's at a private event, maybe again a school event, a birthday party, whatever the case is, it's, you know, that first introduction to that animal, especially as a child, is what really kind of opens their eyes. I mean, that's how it happened to me. I was at an aquarium and saw a ball python when I was 2 years old, and I fell in love with reptiles and dedicated my entire life to reptiles. If it wasn't for that one experience, I often wonder, would I have taken the path I did? And I think about that all the time. Every event we do, that there might be one kid in that event that's going to turn out to be just like me and literally become obsessed and spend their entire life with one focus, and that focus is to get people to love the animals that they love. In my case, it would be reptiles. Why am I telling you this? Again, the states didn't pass those laws last year, but unfortunately the exact same law has now been brought up federally in the Senate, which is the Animal Travel and Public Safety Protection Act of 2021, and basically is the exact same law, which would basically mean that traveling animal shows would be banned for certain animals. Again, tortoises being one, but a whole host of other animals would be on that list. It would pretty much shut down most traveling animal shows, to be honest with you. And that means that guy that comes to the public library wouldn't be able to bring a bunch of animals. And that means the person that came to your school when you're couldn't bring a bunch of the animals, and it means that the person that goes to your birthday party couldn't bring a bunch of animals. And this is the kicker, is that literally if they did it, it would be a federal offense, and you would spend years and years in jail for literally bringing something like a tortoise to a kid's party. I know this seems crazy, I know it seems wild, and it doesn't make any sense. So let's go ahead and try to break down what it's really all about. But before we get into that, let me break down how actual legislation works, right? So this is a proposed bill that's in the Senate, right? So it goes to a committee in the Senate for a hearing, basically, is what happens. And if that potential committee passes that law, then Congress has to actually go into a committee and pass the exact same law. And then if it passed the committee in the House, it would have to go to the floor of the Congress, the House, right? And if they passed that legislation and the Senate had already passed out of committee, then it would actually go to the Senate for ratification with the House House committee, and then ultimately if both the House and the Senate pass that legislation, it would then go to the President to be signed into law. So that's basically what it is. So right now it's being proposed to go into a committee in the Senate, and again, it would eventually move into a committee with the House as well. So the best time to kill a law like this is in committee, because if we can kill it before it leaves committee, it never reaches the floor for a vote, and that is by far way better for everybody. Why would they propose something like this? You know, what is the reason? I mean, who wants to stop educating people about animals? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Well, essentially what happens is you have animal rights activists, right? Groups that have lots and lots of money. And I'm going to start by saying that, you know, I'm not an anti-animal rights person, to be honest with you. I don't think the difference between someone like me and an animal rights person is that different. The only difference is they're kind of more radicalized, right? I want what's best for animals. They want what's best for animals, and that's good, right? The difference is that we just see things differently about what we think is actually good for the animal. For me, I think educating and getting people excited about animals and getting people hands on these animals helps the conservation in the future of the animal. They think that people shouldn't own animals, period. There should be no animals in captivity. Ironically enough, the majority of the animal rights groups believe that you shouldn't even be able to keep a dog or cat. But of course, they're not going to say that publicly because they know that if hey, we're going to take your dog or cat away, they're definitely not going to get a lot of support. So what happens is that the animal rights groups start chipping away at things, right? They realize that they're not going to be able to come and take your tortoise away as a pet because people will be so outraged. But what they can do is they can start chipping away at the animal education shows, and it does two things. Number one, it stops people from, like us, that are educating people to continue on. And number two, what it does is it maybe stops little Jimmy that I do an education show that turns into me in the future, right? So it kind of stops in the track. They're thinking long term. I've seen some documents on some pretty crazy animal rights activists that have talked about 30 and 40-year plans. So they're not thinking about this year and next year. They're thinking 30 to 40 years down the road and how they can eventually chip away and get it to the point where people can't keep all animals as pets. Not just reptiles, but all animals as pets. So again, I'm not like super against the idea of things that improve, you know, husbandry or keeping or whatever the case is. I'm all about animals and making sure that they're being taken care of properly. But the fact is that, you know, taking the ability away of someone to educate someone is absolutely ludicrous. And I'm sure you're watching this right now going, that's impossible, Brian. This can't happen. Well, guys, it really is happening. It's happening right now as we speak. Do I think that this is going to actually pass? I'm going to be totally honest with you. I highly doubt that this is going to make it out of committee because it's just such a radical thing. But the fact is we want to make sure we kill it in committee, because if it gets out of committee and eventually gets on the floor, the biggest thing that I'm always afraid of is they can stick this in what they call an appropriation bill, right? Which is basically a bill that has all kinds of good stuff in it, infrastructure, whatever the case is, and it just slides into that, you know? It's what they call a champion bill. So maybe a senator is like, hey, I have a bunch of money that was given to me by this animal rights group, and hey, I want you to do me a favor and put this into this bill and slide it through for me, and then down the road, I'll do a favor for you and put something in an appropriations bill too. That's how things get passed that we think can't get passed. That's why if you look at some legislation, you're like, there's no way that could have passed. What happens a lot of times is it makes it out of committee, it gets slipped into a bill that is important. It gets kind of buried. Remember when that whole stimulus package passed and they actually had the UFO stuff in the bill? That's what I'm talking about. The UFO bill would have never passed on its own, but they literally stuffed it in another bill so they had to reveal what was going on with UFOs. I mean, so that's what could happen, right? So we always want to kill it in the committee so it never makes it to the House or Senate floors. Now that we have an understanding of what is actually going on, the next question is, what can we do about it? You as an individual, me as an individual, probably not a whole lot, but as a group we can do a tremendous amount. And of course, I've always said that the Reptile Army and all the things I point to is usark.org, right? So we have to not only be members of usark.org, but we have to support usark.org. It's our advocacy group that basically protects our rights for keeping reptiles, right? It's the United States Association of Reptile Keepers. Very important to be involved. I mean, even if you only have $2 or something like that, donate it to them. Join their site, make sure that you do what they do. They'll actually tell us every course of action. Not only do they have lobbyists and attorneys that are working to kind of combat laws like the SB 3220, but also they tell us when we need to have action. We may need to make calls to the Senate. We may need to send emails or letters. We may need to show up there at some point. The truth is, it's all about getting the word out, and that's what I'm trying to do today in today's video. And I also want to encourage you to follow USARK because they get the word out and they tell us exactly what to do. But remember, guys, be cordial, be nice. Listen, this boils my blood, but you know, being kind of an outrageous idiot doesn't help anything, right? If you're reaching out to a senator that's on that committee that's going to be hearing all about this and you're a jerk, all it's going to do is hurt. So be kind of thoughtful, right? You know, kind of try to educate them, because the truth is the majority of the senators and congressmen, for that matter, are really decent people. They just may not understand. They may see a bill comes across like, yeah, sure, I don't think that people should take lions to a school or something like that. And then in it, there's actually all this other stuff, and they may not be educated. So it's very important for us to be cordial in educating our leaders so that they're making the proper choices. Because like I said, I don't look at the Senate or the Congress as evil people. I just think that sometimes they're lobbied to do things that are kind of not ethical per se, and then other senators in House just aren't as educated. So they go, oh yeah, it seems reasonable to me. I'll go ahead and pass that because, you know, we work together and so on like that. So again, I can't stress enough, don't be an idiot when you contact these people, and USARK will definitely guide us on what exactly to say. And by the way, monitor species are on that list of things that you wouldn't be able to take to educational shows too. So I guess if this thing passed, I'm going to be a criminal, right? I just can't see myself stopping educational shows, and I can't see myself not being able to see the smiles on all the kids' faces when they see little monitor lizards like this or tortoises or some fact. Again, do I think it's going to pass? I sure hope not, but we have to be proactive. We can't sit back and say, hey, this isn't going to pass, because if we do that, maybe it does, and then we're all going to suffer. And the other fact is not just that. The other fact is that maybe this one doesn't pass, but they're going to continue to keep coming until one does pass. And that is my biggest fear of all. And the only way we can do that is to support USARK and to join, again, the Army, the Reptile Army, and make sure that we're a part of a group that's going to stop these types of things. Because listen, I don't want to live in a world where my great-grandkids can't be up and close with reptiles and other animals, and that they don't maybe even care because they haven't understood what these animals are. And I hope that you'll join me in this fight, not only on this one, but every other battle in the future. And again, keeping very cordial. Again, I really appreciate you guys listening to me on it. It's such an important thing for me and an important thing for all the reptiles and all the other animals' futures, because we need education more than anything in the animal conservation world. If you enjoyed the video, like I said, do me a favor, down the link I'm going to put USARK's information, usark.org. Also, you can watch a playlist if you so choose. Also, do me one last favor, hit that subscription button on this side if you want more information about whatever happens in the future. I appreciate you guys. Have an absolutely wonderful day, Reptile Army. Remember, be kind to someone, and I promise I'll see you in the next one.